Hey soldiers, it is really getting sinister out there. And when we go through this story today about a major financial institution working in concert with the federal government to quash your freedoms, economic and otherwise, is going to drive home the point of why you need to take a serious look at diversifying away from traditional banking. It also should make you think about your relationship with cash and making certain purchases as anonymously as possible. Okay, this is really, really troubling what I'm going to go through with you today. Now, it has to do, the genesis of it comes out of the whole January 6th imbroglio. I was having a debate with a woman, this was maybe about a year ago, and her position was this group that stormed the Capitol on January 6th, they could have taken over the United States government. I said to her, ma'am, if you believe that, then you do not have a complete understanding of the complexity and size of the government of the United States of America. That group was incapable of taking over the government of Baltimore City, all right? But the media feeds people certain narratives and they don't need to think. They just lay there on the skin of the onion. They don't need to penetrate any layers using their critical thinking skills if they have any. They just abdicate their ability to think, take whatever the narrative is and they absorb it, okay? And they repeat it and they bleed it like sheep. So we're going to get into the very troubling incident that occurred, and it's probably ongoing. You know, Elon Musk over at Twitter, he's done some things to encourage free speech over there. I'm not on Twitter, but you can bet your bottom dollar that if what we're seeing in the Twitter files, is going on at Facebook, at YouTube, and other social media groups, the same can be said for Bank of America and how they just came out and started to work with the FBI to violate the economic privacy of its customers, okay, the bank's customers. Look, there's been a lot of debate lately about the FBI and their reputation. And a lot of people have been saying, oh, the FBI, their reputation is damaged. They need to, they've been doing this and they've been doing that. Since when has the FBI had a sterling reputation? This is the same group that sent Martin Luther King Jr. a letter encouraging him to delete himself, okay? The FBI did that. This is the same group whose headquarters building is named in honor of J. Edgar Hoover, a man who despised privacy and just totally disregarded the rights of Americans, okay, on every turn. I think the FBI gets this rep that they're so upstanding because of the civil rights. You got movies like Mississippi Burning, great movie. Gene Hackman's one of my favorite actors. But I think, stuff like that, Hollywood has a tendency to hypnotize folk into forgetting true history. And yeah, while they were instrumental in incidents like that, the trend for the FBI from its genesis with J. Edgar Hoover has been one of a quashing of rights and corruption. I met an FBI agent once, sat down and had dinner, and it was quite an experience. I will tell you right now, it wasn't a pleasant person, and I don't need to ever dine with him again. Very arrogant, totally smart man, intelligent man, military veteran, but very imperious, all right, with regard to how he viewed the relationship between the government and the people. Very imperious, and that troubled me. All right, so what do we have here? Guys, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, okay? Enlist, become a soldier of finance. We're growing. Let me know you enlisted. Let me know you hit that subscribe button, and I will salute you. Let me know in the comments. Guys, I thank you. You have been doing such an awesome job of hitting the thumbs up. Go ahead, hit that thumbs up button. and let this YouTube algorithm know that this is the kind of content that you vote yes on. You need to see more of it. You need more people to see it. I thank you guys. All right, so let's get into this, okay? In an email to the Charlotte Observer on Thursday, no, let's go a little further up here. I'm starting in the middle. A Charlotte FBI Bank of America dragged into congressional dispute over Capitol riot. Now, I don't like the way they wrote this up from the jump. Okay, Charlotte FBI. No, just say FBI. There is no, it's a national organization. Okay, so when they do that, to me, it smacks of, hey, just confine this to one office. This isn't our national policy. BS. This is your national policy because you darn sure accepted information from Bank of America about accounts all over the nation. Okay. A suspended FBI employee from Charlotte who gave whistleblower testimony Thursday to a Republican-led congressional subcommittee had his security clearance revoked over his handling of a January 6 related investigation and amid questions from his superiors concerning his, quote, allegiance to the United States, unquote. Guys, go back and watch some of those old black and white Twilight Zone, Rod Serling Twilight Zone episodes. Even if you're not into sci-fi, it's funny how Orwell, Serling, okay, these guys predicted this type of thing in their art, okay? And there's one particular episode of the Twilight Zone. Again, we're talking the black and white episodes. They're on the Paramount channel, where Burgess Meredith, and I know for a lot of you, you're like, well, who the hell is Burgess Meredith? He was Rocky's trainer. Okay, maybe that brings it up to date. Anyway, there are two episodes with him, but there's one where he is playing a character called Rodney Wordsworth, and he actually is standing against the power and might of the state. This is where we are today. This is where we are. Go watch that episode. Anyway, they are questioning this FBI agent's allegiance to the United States of America. And the media is gleefully, I've seen some clips where the media is, deriding this individual. Okay, no search for truth, no objectivity. The clips I've seen have had, people giggling. Oh, he's not a real whistleblower. Okay, very sanctimonious. Guys, I tell you, this unholy access of the media, the government, these non-governmental organizations and corporations, we've got to start questioning them, because right here with this story, we're seeing how they're working against we the people. Okay, meanwhile, an interim subcommittee report released earlier in the day accuses Bank of America, headquartered in Charlotte, of targeting conservatives by turning over confidential consumer data from customers who used their credit cards in Washington, D.C. around the time of the incident at the Capitol. Okay, and they say that targeted conservatives, but I want to assure you that you'll see how it didn't matter what your political persuasion was, you were going to get caught up in this. Okay, so sure, they might have intended to go after a certain ideology, but this dragnet that they created snagged everybody that purchased something in DC around that time using the Bank of America product. Marcus Allen, a staff operations specialist with the FBI Charlotte Field Office Joint Terrorism Task Force, was among 3 former or current FBI employees who appeared before the House Judiciary Select Subcommittee on the weaponization of the federal government over how the Bureau is allegedly, quote, purging, unquote, agents and other employees with conservative political views. So if this is true, then what they want is for the FBI not to be an objective, nonpartisan law enforcement agency. Okay, justice is supposed to be blind and all that. Okay, no, what they're doing is they're creating a kind of a Stasi. Okay, an East German Stasi light. So for now, okay, that will target folk that have conservative viewpoints. This is the practice right now. And anybody who doesn't toe that line, you can see it in other aspects of different investigations. Like they just had this one where it was found out that they dropped the investigations on the Clintons, where the IRS said no, that they're not going to put any more resources into the Hunter Biden investigation. You go out here and commit half the stuff that Hunter Biden is accused of, and your daddy's not the president, okay? And you'll be receiving commissary and eating oodles of noodles, and the only investments you'll be making is in Newports and trading that, okay? However, in a letter to the subcommittee's chairman, Ohio Republican Representative Jim Jordan, FBI Assistant Director Christopher Dunham said Allen's top secret security clearance has been revoked by Charlotte superiors this month after he expressed sympathy for persons or organizations that advocate, threaten, or use force or violence. Now, that's coming from this assistant director at the FBI. Now, do you really think this man, this fired FBI agent really got up there and, well, his security clearance has been revoked, and said, I express sympathy for persons or organizations that advocate, threaten, or use force or violence? No, what it was is he probably went in there and said, hey, look, guys, we got to be a little bit more objective. Let's investigate this. Let's find out what the facts are and let them take us, wherever they lead, regardless of what happens. Aren't we supposed to be impartial? And they said, no, that's not what we're doing. We're going to be partial and partisan, and we're going to start by taking your security clearance, which I would imagine after you do something like that to an FBI agent, you seriously harm their career, going forward. It's probably a prelude to having them leave the organization. Allen's actions, according to Dunham, raised security concerns in the Charlotte field office about his allegiance to the United States. Allen has been suspended without pay since February of 2022. The subcommittee's report claims that Allen and two other FBI employees who testified were punished for either doing their jobs or speaking out against the politicization of the Bureau. In an email to the Charlotte Observer on Thursday, FBI said retaliation claims are not true. Okay, but then, and what else do you expect them to say? The subcommittee's report also alleges that Bank of America, quote, voluntarily and without any legal process, unquote, gave the Washington office of the FBI a list of individuals who made transactions in Washington, D.C. or the surrounding area using a Bank of America credit card or debit card between January 5th and January 7th.
Former FBI supervisory intel analyst George Hill says the Bank of America turned over customer data to the FBI for anyone who made any purchases in the D.C. area with the B of A credit or debit card between January 5th and January 7th, 2021. Now, it doesn't matter if you bought tactical gear or a hot dog. That information went right to the FBI, and it gets worse. FBI whistleblower George Hill joins me now. George, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Now, there were certain people who you say were prioritized on this list. Who were they?
So Bank of America took it upon themselves to data mine their own customer base, and they generated a list of any Bank of America customer who used a BOA product, whether that be a debit card or a credit card, in D.C. or the greater Nova area, Northern Virginia area. And they built that list based on any purchase criteria, whether it was a hot dog or a taxi cab or souvenir on the street. But then they racked and stacked that list, and on the top of that, they put anyone who had appeared on that first data poll, who had bought a firearm at any time using a Bank of America credit card. So say you went pheasant hunting in North Dakota in 1999 and you bought a shotgun for that. Then you went to D.C. In January to visit your sick mother in the hospital. Boom, you went right to the top of the list.
Absolutely stunning. Absolutely Orwellian, right? So they want to move toward a CBDC, right? And they swear, oh, we're not going to track you. Your privacy is going to be respected. But they're not even doing that with the bank's debit cards or credit cards. And mind you, this is something that Bank of America they called the FBI and said, hey, look, you want this data? And they gave it to him. And it didn't matter. This is where the liberals get caught up in it too, okay? So that analogy that was used by the gentleman on the Fox clip, sure, you could have been someone who had participated in a BLM protest and you purchased a firearm, which if you're a law-abiding citizen, that is certainly your right. You did that years ago. Now you're in D.C. At the Smithsonian, okay, trying to check out some of the exhibits, and you bought a teddy bear from the gift shop. Well, guess what? You're on the list, okay, high up on the list. And the other troubling part about this is the linkage of firearms, okay, to that. Now, there weren't any firearms used by these protesters on January 6th, right? Okay, but for some reason that became an issue and one of the primary modes of tracking these people. Okay, and you tell me there's no firearms registry in the country. It's probably why if you buy ammunition or firearms, if you exercise your right to do that sort of thing, you probably need to use cash, okay, while you still can. Customers in the D.C. area at the time who had used a Bank of America credit card to buy a firearm in the past were, quote, reportedly elevated to the top of the list, unquote, according to now retired FBI analyst who testified to the subcommittee in March. Under questioning by the subcommittee, however, the retired analyst, George Hill, acknowledged that he merely had seen a record about the bank's activity in the FBI's case management system, but he said he did not open it. Okay, so he didn't delve into it. Based on court files tied to its January 6th investigation, the FBI frequently received court approval to acquire banking and communications records to pinpoint locations of suspects or to search for evidence of crimes. The subcommittee's report, however, described Bank of America's actions in more critical terms as, quote, an invasion of the privacy of American citizens that is decidedly concerning. Okay, in response to the subcommittee's allegations, the spokesperson for Bank of America told the Observer on Thursday that the bank, quote, follows all applicable laws and regulatory requirements to receive, evaluate, process, safeguard, and narrowly respond to law enforcement requests. Okay, so again, this is just giving you more fodder for any, a lot of the stuff that we talk about here on the channel in terms of creating parallel economies, in terms of, look, this is not us trying to be surreptitious, okay, as citizens. For now, cash is still a legal mode of purchase, okay? We're not doing anything wrong by using cash. But we see right here that these corporations and the government are working in concert. And so what if you purchased a firearm 10 years ago, okay, with your Bank of America credit card? So what? Okay, you did it in Alaska, and then you came to D.C. a decade later, all right? What exactly is that supposed to indicate about your political leanings or intentions with regard to what happened on January 6th? And you can bet that the data that they collected is not going to be destroyed. It's going to be cataloged, okay? It's going to be held onto, and it's going to be used to profile. You want to talk about profiling? All right, we're all being profiled. Doesn't matter what color you are. We're all being profiled, okay, by the federal government. Forget your local police department. Forget your state police department. This is something that is national, and it's only going to metastasize as we move forward. All right, guys, so think about that in relation to purchasing with cash. Think about that in relation to your resistance to the CBDC, okay? Think about what they'll be able to do. They won't even have to contact Bank of America. Bank of America won't have to call them and say, hey, you want this data? They'll just be able to pluck it out of thin air, okay, because they catalog it with the CBDC. Think about building your own bank. Sit down and figure out why you're using a bank. And then think about how you can use your own bank. All right. We talk about putting money into other financial institutions. Okay. Taking the power away from the banks. Insurance policies. Okay. Properly structured permanent life insurance policies. We talk about gold, silver, cash. Okay. I'm not saying divorce the bank entirely, but I tell you what, I think for my purposes, further minimizing my exposure to the bank in light of what's going on with these banks is appropriate. Guys, check out this video. It's about the Bilderberg Group. All right, you've heard about that. One of these non-governmental confabs where all the big wigs meet. What are they talking about this year? This is the 69th annual meeting of this group, and they're planning your economic future. So guess what? If you are not planning it, they got a plan for you. And trust me, you're not going to like their plan. Check out the video. Guys, I'll talk to you soon.